So update 2.12 just launched for Payday 2 on Steam, bringing the next installment of the City of Gold campaign. I've come to expect a lot from Overkill on these releases after the quality we've seen from the likes of the Ukrainian prisoner heist and Bullock's Mansion over the past 12 months. Fortunately, I think Episode 3 in the San Fran storyline is just as good from a design standpoint as any DLC we've seen since Payday went back into development. I'm pretty invested in what's to come next with the culmination of the City of Gold on the horizon, but for now, let's talk about why the Black Cat Heist is glorious. First, just taking a step back and looking at the update overall, there's not a ton of free content worth writing home about. Some visual bug fixes, huge buffs for the Angry Tiger from the most recent weapon DLC, which make it much more of a viable contender for your secondary slot, and the red variant of the free Dragon Bomber outfit. Speaking of outfits, I don't think I'd be doing my job here if I didn't touch on the Mega City Tailor Pack, the cosmetic DLC which launched alongside the new heist. I hate reviewing cosmetic packs, it's just so subjective, but this one really appeals to my fashion sensibilities for what it's worth. I genuinely love every available colour combination, the gloves are all great and the masks are top tier. My personal look has been kitting out Jimmy with the monochrome Cyber Trench and Cyber Monkey mask, which is super slick. Definitely my favourite Tailor pack on the market. That said, now we get into the bulk of the update, the Black Cat Heist. This has got to be not only one of my favourite concepts and settings for a heist, but also one of the absolute best visual designs we've ever seen the Diesel engine handling. The set dressing is top tier, the detail is immense, and surprisingly, environments are quite varied despite taking place on a single ship. Conceptually, this is a Golden Grin meets Yacht Heist crossover, which could be perceived as lazy until we take a look at the wonderful oriental design of the ship and realise it stands alone as its own unique setting. I cannot praise Overkill's work with the visuals and atmosphere enough. It's phenomenal within the confines of Payday's limiting engine. Just while we're on the topic of those limitations, I'd say the heist runs surprisingly well for being so detailed. Bullock's Mansion was the last example of this, and it did not run well on weaker machines, but the Black Cat really held up for me, dropping very few frames. There is another issue flying around, that being the consistent crashing that this heist seems to cause. I personally cannot speak of any instability on this heist, even with my game completely decked out with mods from my Hood video, but I've witnessed others struggling with it firsthand and hope Overkill can amend whatever's causing it so more people can experience this excellent heist. Getting into more detail, as with all recent DLC heist releases, it's all about quality design over a single day heist, with stealth always being an option alongside loud. I'll start by talking about the experience you'll have running the heist guns blazing, because it is more varied than you'll initially assume. Just as an aside, my experience on this heist has only been with the Death Sentence 1 down difficulty, so I can't speak for the experience on lower difficulties. So one key and quite unique feature of this heist is that the loud approach will vary depending on the asset selection, so much that you can expect completely unique objectives depending on your entry. I love this kind of variation, although I have been surprised to find that the loud entry which costs assets, the helicopter approach, is probably actually harder than its free alternative. I'll start by running you through that exact loud-only plan. We're dropped onto the deck by Chopper and told to find the explosives planted by our insider. Even though this heist is set up like an assassination objective, killing the two leading Triad members is entirely optional. Vlad's actually sent the crew to steal the contents of their vault. That means if we approach things loud from the get-go, we can simply blast into the vault room from behind. From here, it's a case of sawing it free in 4 places, just like Panic Room, so that it can be directly airlifted out without needing to steal the individual contents. This holdout is an absolute nightmare. If you want to actually hold the vault area down to protect the saws, good luck, as there are sight lines on basically every side. This is something that stands out with this heist over other close quarters experiences such as No Mercy or Undercover. They feel like corridor shooters, put your back to the wall and fire. Here, the vault area and most corridors are designed so that you can be flanked and even spawned behind at all times. I think this is clever sightline design to ramp up the difficulty of a close quarters heist, which are traditionally easier. I've even found that if you try to hold down a single room in the cabin, you'll often get overran, meaning movement and positioning is pretty essential here. I actually found myself just scrambling to stay alive through an assault wave just to fix the saws during the lull. After freeing the vault, you'll have to set up a winch to pull it out to the courtyard so that it can be airlifted with the usual Panic Room magnet technique. Before that can be pulled off, 3 chopper spawns will slow things down. I think these are designed so you have to explore the other areas of the yacht before escaping. 2 of them are covered by snipers, the third is a mounted turret, which can be pretty insurmountable depending on your build. This is another huge difficulty spike within the heist, but fortunately you'll be pretty much home free after shooting it down. Just call in the chopper, steal the vault, and wait for Gao Feng to pick you up from the side of the yacht. The great thing about Payday 2 these days though is that's just one way of doing things. If we instead go for the standard entrance strategy and meet up with the insider to pick up our gear, the heist will feel entirely different. Now we need to find the true triad bosses, one of which being the guy who tortured Vlad to within inches of his life in the previous heist, and take their respective vault keys. Li Deng is located in the ship's luxury spa, a completely different environment within the boat. You'll need to drill this lecher's safe to find the vault code. On the opposite end of the ship, in the dark casino area, we'll find Jun Kung in a lockdown office. We can use some thermite to swing the ornate chandelier straight into its glass front to get to the enforcer and take his prosthetic hand. I still find it strange that killing these 2 is entirely optional. Now, to actually gain access to the vault, there's a standard computer hack that needs to be completed, but if you're stupid like me and didn't notice the vault entrance, you may have accidentally blown up the wall with C4 and forced the heist to go down the steal the vault route once again. Yet, keep it in mind, even if you're not doing the loud entry, you can still pick up the C4 and head down that objective line. This is fine, I like the choice, but sadly I'd already spent 10 whole minutes doing the other objectives for absolutely no reason, yet this was a huge time waster for me. However, if you do things the intended way, it's now loot secure time. You'll need to bring 12 bags on higher difficulties, but this is actually far easier here than on most heists, as all we need to do is throw the loot overboard for it to be considered stolen, just as in the original yacht heist. To make matters even easier, half the time you can use cops to carry the loot closer to the deck for you. Once this is done, it's escape time in one of my favourite sequences in the entire game. Apparently we paint its Payday really quickly in diesel before setting it alight to call the chopper to the front of the boat. This leads to a pretty intense escape sequence with limited cover and snipers overwatching the area. As you see, I barely made it out, even using Stoic after my initial struggles with this heist. I have to say, I love this approach to the heist, it's much more unique than the alternative. Moving on to stealth, expect more of the same here. It's very close quarters and claustrophobic, which, whilst an advantage in loud, makes things much harder when sneaking in. There is a stealth entry, which just has you fully masked up below deck from the start, and not messing around with the insider or keycards later on. It follows the same general objective loop as the previous loud approach, but with stealth-orientated objectives. This means drugging Lee to steal his keys unceremoniously, and listening to the meeting Zun was having, which has some pretty interesting lore inferences. From here, we search for his cabin, call him to the deck and dispose of him over the railings, Payday style. Things get a little messy here, with us now having to head to a side room and hack the slots into overdrive before disconnecting the lasers into the vault. The casino room is so busy with cameras, guards and civs, this is where I'm betting most stealth runs are going to be coming to an end. But if you are able to make it through, it's a simple case of then accessing the vault and stealing the loot overboard once again. We escaped this heist by lowering one of the lifeboats, but I couldn't for the life of me work out how to do that at first, hence this slightly panicked escape. Honestly, stealth in this heist is incredibly in-depth. You'll be forced to run the full ship gauntlet at different points, whilst completing quite detailed and varied objectives on the way. It's got the mapping competence of the yacht heist, and the objective detail of something like Big Bank, which is a pretty killer combination, if you ask me. I do have one complaint though, I don't like the way objectives are being handled in recent heists from an information standpoint. Generally, Locke will tell us to do something, and the area that it needs to be done in will be marked out for us. But initially, there won't be any real explanation, so I find myself standing around for 30 seconds to a minute, waiting for the objective to be properly marked out. Not only does this make me feel really stupid, I'm not sure what the purpose is, as the only time this will matter is on the first playthrough. In my opinion, this should work one way or another, instead of a strange combination of show don't tell and then tell precisely. Basically, I'd rather know exactly what and where the objective is, or not be directed at all outside of clever environmental and verbal hints. The way the system is currently designed, Overkill are able to not bother with more subtle design clues, as they'll tell you the answer eventually anyway. Like I said, this only impacts the first few runs, but I had plenty of frustration at the slot machine objective, unsure what to do and taking unnecessary risks before the game just told me exactly where to go. Just to touch on a few of the intangibles from this DLC heist, the music is simply fantastic once again, knocked it out of the park with a less oriental, more casino heist style track. The heist difficulty is definitely up there, but it can be managed depending on the approach. Stealth is a suitable challenge though, which is good to see as it will mean that people actually try DSOD loud. I'd say drill skills are a bit of a necessity if you go for the full vault steal method, but other than that, most builds will hold up. I personally have found the greatest success with grey snipers and shotguns. I was, however, forced into the stoic ICTV LMG setup for my first completion, which is definitely testament to the difficulty ceiling on offer. The storyline is heating up too, and I feel Overkill have done a much better job fleshing out clear antagonists with this campaign, meaning I'm really excited to see how things culminate in the next heist. Having two named characters appear with unique models in this heist makes the triad feel a lot less faceless and worth going after. Overall, I still think Overkill are absolutely heading in the right direction with these heists. Instead of being expansive and offering great player choice this time, the Black Cat is tight and linear, but actually benefits from that design in my opinion. Gunfights constantly feel fast paced, objectives are really well pressured, and you can take in and appreciate the fantastic visual design of the setting that bit more at close quarters. There's a very solid foundation of difficulty here, and the asset variation makes pre-planning feel a little more valuable. Like I've mentioned, I do prefer the standard no asset setup for going loud, but both offer some cool variety and different scenarios that will play out differently depending on your build. Stealth is a similar story. It's complex and claustrophobic when it needs to be, whilst being open and more objective based at other points in time. I love the ship setting for stealth heists. The extra risk from the high proximity environment is countered by how easy it is for us to dispose of bodies and secure the loot overboard. I just wish there were more puzzle orientated elements coming back from the likes of Bullock's Mansion. As ever, I recommend the try before you buy approach, which Payday 2 always offers on its heist DLCs. Get in a lobby with a friend or someone hosting the Black Cat online and see if you agree with my initial thoughts. Personally, I'm happy with my purchase and will continue to support Overkill whilst they strive to develop and innovate on these new heist releases, especially with some big free content on the horizon in the weeks to come. Stay tuned for my videos covering what looks like a crime fest as we get more news, and keep your eyes peeled for two very special challenge runs coming soon. Just for those of you who stuck around up to this point in the video, I do want to remind you that my series of Payday themed Apex gaming PCs is still very much so available for purchase. I know some people are continuing to struggle with performance on these new heists in particular, so my range offers a perfect solution to those issues. And I'm sure I'll be seeing some loyal console fans lamenting this PC only update, so always keep Apex in mind if you're thinking about making the switch. Thanks so much for watching guys, and sticking around until the end. I'll see you all in the next one. As ever, thank you very much to my Mean Infamy patrons and above. If you want to join that infamous club to see yourself in the credits or get early exclusive access to my videos, including the story videos, check out my Patreon link below. Remember that Discord is open to all if you crave some more Payday discussion. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I'll see you all very soon for the next one.